Good afternoon from across the pond. As some of you may know, it is Geography Awareness Week this week. And so, in honor of this illustrious week, I will be doing a small video every day on something geographically related. Now, many people have the idea that geography is just about knowing where things on a map are. And that's kinda true. I would say a good geographer probably should know where most countries are. But there's way more to it than that. For geography is also concerned with the mechanical workings of the Earth itself. And then, on top of that, there's the human element, and how humans interact over space and place. Now, looking at human interaction over space and place can take you in lots of directions in and of itself. My light's kind of geeking out in here, so that's why it just got dark. So yeah, back to human geography. One thing human geography can look at is demographics. By looking at population growth or decline and the dynamics therein, you can tell a lot about a certain place or area or region. For instance, the decline in population in Japan depicts an overall inclination towards professionalism in women and disinterest in starting up new families. But that's not all. Human geographers also look at migration, as well as the dissemination and spread of culture all over the globe. If you really want to get downright critical about your geography, there's also stuff like feminist geography, which looks at how space plays in the power relations and gender relationships. To that effect, you also have queer geography and Marxist geography, and a whole bunch of other little geographies that just look at, how power relationships of space play into X, Y, or Z in our world. Not to mention the geography of commodities. I mean, you've got the geography of beer, the geography of cheese, the geography of pork sandwiches. For instance, did you know that the pork sandwiches in Tennessee are way different than the pork sandwiches in Cuba? A geographer of pork sandwiches could tell you exactly why that is. And I haven't even got into cartography and all the other technical elements of geography. I mean, you've got your straight up map makers. But then you've got people that look at overhead satellite imagery and use that to sort of tell you what's going on in a certain area or region. Then you've got people that work with just spatial databases and are basically number crunchers, except these numbers are tied to space. Now, within physical geography, which I mentioned earlier, you've got a whole bunch of guys that do things that are kind of like geology, but not quite, or kind of like climatology, but not quite. Common denominator? Space. Which brings up a really important point about geography. Geography can stick its finger into any disciplinary pie at once. All you gotta do is look at something and say, how does space affect it? How does space affect economics? Oh, that's economic geography. Oh, well, how does space affect culture? Cultural geography? You can see where I'm going with this. So, why is geography even important? I think there's one term that really cleverly conveys why we need geography. Some clever bastard some time ago coined the term, the tyranny of space. Basically what that means is that no matter what we do in our lives, space is always going to be a factor. I mean, if your life is the Winslow family, then space is that damn Urkel kid that never goes home. Really, it comes down to understanding why something acts this way here, but that way over there. Now take a minute, lean back in your chair, or if your chair doesn't have a back, if you're sitting on a stool, just ponder like the David, and consider the logistics worker. The logistics worker is almost the ultimate geographer. They not only have to figure out the best way of moving something from point A to point B, but they also have to figure out how to do it as efficiently as possible, which means conserving as much space as possible. If you don't think corporations, NGOs, and governments will pay to have people think about that stuff, then you're crazy. Now, since several of you probably have already heard this spiel, and likely it's been from me, I guess I'm just preaching to either the converted or the downright bored here. So in order to make this worthwhile for you, or at least as worthwhile as I could possibly make it, I'm going to tell you about one of the most interesting obscure geographies I know. Geopolitics of the moon. That's right, geography can expand even beyond the geo. No fool, the other geo. The political geographies of the moon basically look at how countries name certain rock formations, craters, and other geological phenomena in order to tell other people, hey, this is ours. So there's this geological formation on the moon that American scientists have named Yogi Bear. Why? I'm guessing because it looks like Yogi Bear. But what if, while vacationing with your family on the moon, you rolled up to this bear-shaped rock and it was called...
Играющий на понижение, который украл корзины пикника.
And upon hearing that, you would say, "Ooh, this must be a Ruski Moon Bear rock-shaped formation thingy. Pack up Daddy's beer, kids, we're going home." And that's the whole idea. By creating a cultural framework on this unpopulated rock, when people do show up, there's already going to be boundaries drawn as to who should go where. Whoever names the most space gets the most space, essentially. Although don't forget about flags. They're important for keeping club sandwiches together and claiming yardage on the moon. But that's just one thing you can do with geography. And throughout the rest of this week, over the next couple of days, I'm going to talk about various areas of geography that are, I think, really cool. And I really hope you think it's cool too. If you don't, well, then go spend your time watching videos of cats, because there's already plenty of that crap on the internet. Take care, folks, and happy Geography Awareness Week.